God's sake. Anyway, this is my studio, by the way. No, I'm just gonna let it be like this. I don't want to do an accident, do a face reveal or anything, so it's not dark enough for like the YouTube set. It's not. I'll do. I'll do what I can to see if I can get it dark. One sec, just I can't see anything. I don't know if it's dark enough now. Let's try. It's still a bit light. Could you see me? A bit. You know what? Okay, guys. If I just did this on a video, I wouldn't have to do this hassle. But I also get like more views. But there's no reason for me to do this. But I like doing live stream just because. Anyway, right. So this is a period seed. Okay. Okay, let's see when the Soviet could have actually been socialist. Do you, I think this might be the only time the Soviets could have been socialists, and maybe the only time Soviets were socialists. So from before, like after the Russian Revolution, where many like Soviets were formed, workers' councils eventually started stuff like many cooperatives were formed, many like local little like communal organizations were formed. That could have been considered like, some kind of like primitive form of socialism. What is it? I don't know. Not some kind of like lower form of socialism, because obviously the Russian Empire still exists, and then like Lenin's like destroyed the provisional government, and then we would have had some kind of like maybe in full socialism at that point before Lenin was able to destroy the Soviets and like and integrate power into the CPSU, which so this was as things get depressing. Let's how about we do see what's a text large? What's large text do? Small, straight. Small looks better now, honestly. Due power Russian Devo I vola actinia. I did not read that. I'm trying to actually learn Cyrillic, so there's no reason you would have believed me. I just read that anyway. Reverse to the concept of two Russian governments as referred to the fact. Reverse to the consecutivity of two Russian governments as referred to the February Revolution. To the Soviet Workers' Council's party in Petrograd, Soviet and the Russian provision. This Russian provisional government. The term was first used by the most Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin in the pervert the title of dual power. Lenin argued that it was essentially unstable situation, contribution, and com, com, unique opportunity in the Soviets and Bolsheviks to seize power and smash the weak provisional and establish themselves as the basis of new state. God, this is not this this is not to be this is not to be this substance due power. There are this this new information is that revolution elsewhere in the world, including Chinese Communist Revolution now, Stalin and China Civil War, and this issue after World War II. Right. Don't know. Boo, boo, boo. Okay, it's a match. I shouldn't actually be so critical. Some of his previous works when he was like revolutionary were actually quite nice. Uh, Bosch summarized it as well, just quite well. There were basically two levels. There's pre-revolution and like post-revolution. It was it was obviously more complicated than that. Like it was a slow transformation from Lenin. And, like Lenin didn't wasn't like fucking he wasn't like fucking evil. He was like paranoid and insane and a react who didn't give a shit about Marx and he didn't he was a fucking he didn't turn into a cow revolution as soon as he like touched power. Like it's a bit more complicated than that, but yeah, essentially there were two levels. Um, liquidate liquidation liq no, liquid is okay. I thought he invented liquidate. Fuck that. Dialectical materialism. The labor aristocracy. That's some Soviet democracy or council democracy is a type of democracy in which the ruling class exists. Yeah, Soviet democracy didn't exist in the Soviet Union. It was heavily, or at least it was heavily like weakened in favor of like the party's democracy. Always has a video want to explain all about it. So, after Tsar abdicated the throne to result in February, this led to establishment of a provisional government and its contemporary Petrograd Soviet. The provisional government was composed of state debt Duma representing with opponents from Petrograd Soviet. Whenever approved from the Petrograd Soviet, uh, whenever the Petrograd Soviet was made up of socialist leaders elected by the proletariat construction. With the Russian government moving from a autocracy to the type of system of due power, with the Russian government and the Petrograd Soviet constantly vying for power, there was much confusing on how could the context and govern. Okay, so I didn't know the Petrograd Soviet was like that powerful against like the provisional government. I always like thought like Petrograd Soviet was only Petrograd Soviet was only like Petrograd, right? Like it was like there individual Soviets didn't control the entire Soviet Union. But I guess like it's being able to attack the provisional government. They had some like force over all of like the Russian Republic at this time. In the conference, the provisional government realized that the Soviets had the people's trust and enthusiasm in the hope to appear appealing to the Soviets and keeping small population. The provisional launched several very bloody liberal acts in in the hope of appeasing Soviets and keeping this. The provisional government leaves very bloody liberal acts, very bold. But this is why you should read, boys. Never skip school. Bold liberal acts to promote civil liberties through means of freedom of speech, press and assembly. Yet, other than movements that other than other than strengthening political movements, the province that undertook the power was legitimate due to the fact that elected they were not elected by the people. This to solve the problem of illegality, the provisional government was the process of establishing a constitutional assembly whose members would be democrated by the people. The constitutional assembly was never come to under would never come to the use of the political rule, and the election was set after the Bolsheviks set in the October Revolution. After the February Revolution, Lenin published the April thesis expressing the honor February the contest problems. The Bolsheviks revolution started all power to Soviets. Lenin mentioned the power was necessary to explain how he had no intent in co- cooperating with the provisional government and Soviet-led Lenin's Bolshevik advocacy for anarchism. What? Other members of the Soviet leader were skeptical of Lenin's ideas since they were afraid that Lenin and the Bolsheviks were advocating for anarchism. I need to clip that. One sec. What could I am like recording this part. Just uh after the February, Lenin put an April and expressed the unhappiness with the February Revolution and described it as bourgeois revolution. He published a slogan, "All power to Soviets." Lenin's mention of the provisional was necessary, and Lenin's mention of the proletarian revolution was necessary, and explained how he has no idea of the provisional government and other Soviet leaders were willing to compromise. Other members of slow leadership were skeptical of Lenin's ideas since he was afraid Lenin and Bolsheviks were advocating for anarchism. What? Don't know if you can see that. Lenin's also criticized the Petrograd Soviet for governing alongside the Petrograd government and also for forgetting and adapt Soviet ideas and revolution. Okay, yeah. The provisional government members are primarily considered of the State Duma members of the me- members under Nicholas regime. It members were mainly members of liberal, conservative, democratic, liberal, and conservative Octoberist party, but also included those parties leaders and members, but party leaders with members, but not most were members. Often more liberal and conservative view at all times. But what the ideology and political ideas were different widely throughout the party's leadership and members, but were moderate, offering both liberal and conservative views at times. The cabinet and provisional government alike published new political, including the release of political prisoners, a decrease of freedom press, the celebration of the creation of the Department of Protection of Public Service, or what they used to call the Great Department. Comes of a modern English source of the was a political force and police force ops and death, abolishment of the death penalty and the right of minorities. Based, but still not socialism. All power to the Soviets, down with Lenin's party. The provisional government and the Canada were also wanted Russian council to invo, in, will Russian continue to be will also wanted Russia to continue its involvement in World War One. Okay, cringe. Much of the Soviet department's central political ideas, the government becomes significantly more conservative overall with the rise of the left-wing parties and the left-wing thought in both provisional and government in the Petrograd Soviet. The provisional government realized that their power was legitimate since the he gives a shit. God, Petrograd, Soviet. The Soviet workers and Soviet Department of Petrol served in the voice of the smaller council and department elected by common, commoners, specifically soldiers and workers. The Petrograd Soviet therefore could claim much more better understanding of the people's will, since it comprised of many orators with lower class population elected. Soviets established after Feb- The Soviet was established after the February Revolution, composed of numbers of socialist revolutionaries. The workers and the soldiers of the Russian so hoped that the Petrograd Soviet, an elected department in mass, course again membership of almost 1,000 seats and been filled in with. The Petrograd Soviet was beneath that of the would bring land, bread, and peace. Would beneath that they would bring land, bread, and peace, people. Honestly, I think everyone's still. Hey, Lion Bread and Priest. The Lion Bread and Priest. The ex communist was influenced by Nikol Trotsky, was a political empire of Soviet movement, the Social Democratic movement in Georgia. Misht was and Alexander was a to keep radical members and speak to keep radical mentality from Spain to a provisional government, a counter-revolutionary movement. They supported the provision whenever necessary to keep radical men from Spain to. Okay, but July Day impact. The events of the July was a period of arrest in Petrov between. It was characterized by spontaneous and armed demonstration by soldiers, sailors, and industrial workers against the Russian provisional government. Okay, nice. Would have issued due power and government between provisional government and Petrograd, so between would solidify issues of due power with the government between in 19 Julius Caesar Union candidate a Bolshevik uprising still despite what evidence of Lenin a Bolshevik uprising still debated when instead by Lenin occurred when the grassroots in which it seems a grassroots workers and lower ranks of the soldiers volunteered in the street, calling for the Soviets to take power over the provisional government. This uprising was supported by Bolshevik military organization and Petrograd community, which supported leaders of the party in the demonstration. Alexander Kerr had held provisional government, had to let crackdown on these individuals and entirely July Day and overall the provisional government. The military was used to gather against violent demonstrations, obtain government buildings for Bolshevik forces, and dissolve military units that had been participants of attempted overthrow. The provisional government also attempted to undermine Lenin and his party by realizing by re- that they intended on ties to German Russia during World War One. These combined attack would quite uprising to the sport of August and July. The resistance of the death penalty for soldiers and Kaki transfer the provision into uh, the the rentist the what's a, this please don't be a fucking what? Stop being please don't be an Aiden Ross movement. Oh, the reinstatement of the death penalty. Okay, yeah, this is boring now. After the Bolsheviks party was largely put down after the end of Although the Bolshevik Party was largely put down after the end of July Day, Lenin still believed that the group could gain power in the government because of the understanding of due to due power situation. In April, he wrote that the time was not yet right for revolution. In Petrograd, Soviet was still working in the provisional government, as well as we do not yet know what type of government surprised better than the Soviet, or government superior and better than the Soviet. When see Lenin worst blunder winter was as even though it was not necessarily intended to, the Bolshevik was still placed to take over the provisional government and Petrograd Soviet. However, um, uh, was a attempted military coup d'état by the commander of chief of the in August. The Bolshevik regime both drew power of their part. The Bolsheviks regime both in their party, but also with the masses. The commerce of soldiers moved towards the capital Petrograd. Government had released many Bolshevik leaders and arrests during the July day, and also promised arms in order to for Bolsheviks defend and also provided arms in order for the Bolsheviks to defend Petrograd. Government by attempt to call on those who had been punished. The Bolsheviks saw that this turn was given by the power of Russia. So the Russian population lost faith in the provisional because they had to because of how it handled the coup. Many had been supporting of the Bolsheviks, which group when elected through the Petrograd, especially this class. Eventually, the coup, couple of food shortage and the Russian event in World War One and the mass employing the Bolshevik turned to people and the government changed and the two parties promised bread, peace, and land. By the two parties and toward the party. When the Bolshevik overthrew the program in October, the revolution, there was all to be a little resistance. The Petrograd government realized that their power was limited at the take, what's point of take takeover, as the Bolsheviks had been gaining support of all more revolution when actually overthrown or accused because the Bolsheviks first seized member transport and communities such as roads, building, and post offices. Post offices. Bolshevik first seized measure of transport community road. Lenin and it went to the Second Congress of Soviet Workers and Soviet Department and overthrew the provisional government and state and authority of the Bolshevik Party. The Winter Palace, at the time the home of the provisional government, was seized without cause of 26, and Congress had no choice but to appoint. With this, the period of dual power between and Soviet came to a close. Libertarian year has referred to the top turn to of principle achieve a libertarian is the policy of means of incremental establishment of network in direct part to patron party money. Okay, concept power the don't not necessarily mean this of existing instance. For example, you okay. Wait, did the okay? Okay. I think I was mistaken. Did the Soviets like weak? How much did the Soviets like crush the provisional government? I mean, no. When Bush took the province during the October Revolution, there was due so little resistance. Provisional government realized the. I don't think that. Okay, I don't think the Soviets. I think there might have been like all power to the Soviets at the point. Okay, nice, nice. So this, if the moral of the story. So after I thought due power can. So from the period of due power to when Lenin like banner centralized. There might have been socialist SFSS no R.S.F.S.R. Russian Soviet Federal Socialist Republic. They could have been an actual socialist one. So what did this teach us? One, the Soviet Union was never socialist. What was the Union actually founded? the USSR founded? Not. If it says the October Revolution, I'm just ending it now. Found it 13th of December 2022. That was quite late yet. The Soviet Union was never had no chance of being socialist. Lenin had already centralized too much power in the party at that time. So yes, the Soviet Union was never socialist. The Russian Federal Soviet Socialist Republic might have been.